Behind the Door.
Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Door with the Grey Rooms podcast. I am your host, Brooks Bigley, and returning with me tonight is the author of Season 3, Episode 11, Mark Towse, who warns us that we should always mind the gap. How are you this evening, Mark?
I'm great, Brooks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this story. It's one of my favorites, to be honest. So,
yeah, this was a high octane, high adrenaline story, and also, by the way, welcome back to the fold. This is your second story with us this season, so it's good to have you back, man.
No, it's good to be here. It was fun talking about it last time, but I've had a bit more sleep than last time, a few more coffees, so I'm feeling pretty relaxed and ready to go. And I'm trying to avoid those two words I repeated persistently last time. You know, I think I said that about 1,000 times. So I'm feeling much more relaxed this time around.
Excellent. And it's okay if you say you know, because as human beings, we all tend to do that.
I generally don't. Everyday conversation, it never crops up, but for some reason, it just seemed to sputter out like persistently. But I don't know what that was about, really. But there you go.
Well, I say a lot, so there you go. I'll say you say and together we'll make a.
That sounds like a great conversation in the works, doesn't it?
Exactly. So let's get into this story here. Like, wow, you're on a roll here with just these epic stories of just highly detailed gloss that we get to listen. You know, we can't see it, but your writings work so well to really paint the picture, I think, in the brain, as you listen to the story. So, I mean, you know the spiel here. Like, tell me how you went from, what you gave us in episode 3 to this. What was your path to come up with this really fun idea? And remember, spoilers are okay. You can talk in detail about the ending and everything else.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, there is a lot going on in this story. There's no doubt. It didn't start like that. I had no intention of introducing claustrophobic effects with cryptids. It just started at a train station. I have this sort of romantic nostalgia about train stations. I had my first kiss behind an old derelict train station back in England, and I just wanted to write about it. It's very odd. I just wanted to initiate a story involving that specific train station, all the thickets, all the spiky fruit wrapping around the picket fences. It's very clear in my mind.
So it's a very personal train station for you. Okay.
I still remember the girl's name as well, bizarrely enough, which is pretty. I don't know if that's sad or I don't know, but yeah, I just want.
You're a romantic.
Imagine that. Yeah, I am at heart. To be fair, yeah, I think the wife would disagree, but I am. Look, and I wanted to incorporate that, and the story, oddly enough, it just developed. None of that was plotted. It just developed itself. I started writing about the brambles, the kid in the train station, the decoy of the couple wrapping their arms around each other, and it just developed. It did. It just wrote itself. I mean, there's not the first story that's done that, but I had no intention of spending a lot of time in the story writing about being trapped in a tunnel. I love that part of it, but I just wanted that to be more of a decoy away from what is actually happening in the story, rather than a main focus point. So I didn't try and dwell on it too much. The cryptids as well. What I'm really trying to do is I'm just trying to, put a guy, as I've said before, a guy in a bad position, but take him to an even worse one. I don't know why I enjoy doing that. It's very sadistic, I know, but I just wanted to put him through the ringer. This poor kid, he's not had a great deal in life. He's just looking for love. He's looking to make someone happy. He's looking to be a hero, and this is what you get. This is what you get for your efforts. But,
yeah,
there you go.
It was like such a dying whimper to his life. Like, clearly he went out for the night to meet up with a date at a bar, and then that didn't go well, and so now he's just trying to get home, and this annoying child with his ball.
Been there where we've had high hopes of an evening. We get dressed up, we get ready to go out. We're going out on the town, and it just doesn't work out as planned. And this guy ends up in a strange town, middle of nowhere, waiting for the last train. And he thinks that's the end of the night. That's how bad it's going to get for him. But little does he know, what I've got in store for him. Starting from an innocent kid with what we think is blackberry, juice smeared across his lips, banging a ball against the station, and so his night was really just beginning, to be honest.
Yeah, his night got worse in parts. Like even he was he was cognizant of it all too. Like when Ralph, your main character, when he, I guess your description was like it was more of like a hole in the side of the fence, right? Like kind of or like the fence kind of. It's just definitely something that wasn't noticeable until you were actually there and staring at it. And he realizes that he's like a worm just going through this tunnel looking for this ball for this child. Like, what the hell am I doing here? Like his night couldn't get worse, and yet it kept getting worse.
Absolutely, yeah. But he has no idea what is in store for. He's just trying to rescue this ball for the kid. He's trying to be the hero. He's trying to put things right in his life, I guess, to some extent. So poor fella. He's just having a really rough night. And he's got all the sort of the whiskey in him, the cheap whiskey in him. He's disorientated. He's not making rational decisions, and he's just literally just flailing blindly in the dark. But there you go.
So how did that organically evolve then? So you're writing the story, and slowly the pieces are coming into shape, and you decide to send him down this hole, basically looking for this ball. Like, at what point then did you start to go, okay, this is where it's going to open up now. Now there's going to be this cavern. Now I'm going to add these cryptids into the scenario. Like, when did all that start to evolve?
It literally started in real time. So I had nothing planned beyond the tunnel. I sometimes I just get on a flow and I begin writing, and I'm thinking, well, okay, he's in the tunnel now, and what next? And that's when I start thinking about, let's add, the tunnel gets narrower. He's feeling blindly against the walls, and all of a sudden he comes into this opening. So he's going from feeling very, very tightly wrapped into this open space. So he's slightly disorientated from that. He's wondering what's going on. What else can I add to that? We can add the putrid smell. We can begin to add the growls. We can add the stones coming down from the top because the train's here. So he begins to panic. So there's lots of stuff going on. But at the end of the day, he's had a skinful. He's not rational. So I just wanted to try and put the reader in his shoes, essentially. He's totally, he's no rational thoughts whatsoever is lost. There's growling. There's a smell of death. I just wanted to really build the tension.
Well, and then how did you slowly start to, where was the aha moment for you when you were like, this is where it's going now? Or did you literally write it all the way to the very end, and then you're like, oh, I'm done now?
I tell you, people talk about that aha moment, and I don't think it happens at any particular point in the story. I think, as you just said, I think sometimes it actually happens at the end, where you actually reflect on what you've written and think, oh, that turned out pretty well. I think it really was just written in real time. It just developed. I try and lose myself in the character. I try and lose myself in the location. And a lot of my stories, and it sounds very bizarre to say it, but they do just write themselves. Very, very rarely. I think about 50% of my stories have an endpoint in mind. I have, I write down plot points. But this one, no, it just did develop in real time. And I think sometimes that's a good thing, because, if you don't know what's going to happen, and obviously I've said that before, neither does the reader. So the element of surprise is always there. And all these decoys just fell into place. It worked really well, because I don't think, I don't think anyone would have expected the kid at the end to come through and say, did I do a good job, Mommy?
Right. He was like the lure
decoys,
the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. So if you get lost in the story, there's more decoys, and you not ultimately got your eye on the finish line all the time. So it sort of takes away that sort of linear aspect of the story and allows you to go, walk, like from side to side rather than straight on. And I think that really helps in terms of
Yeah, I
giving
see
the
what you
reader a
mean.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like and I feel like this is very indicative of your writing because you're really good and effective at this. Like when you're, to me, I get this impression, like as an analogy here, that when you're writing that story, you're kind of throwing the pebble into the water so that the ring goes out in all directions. And what I mean by that is like your plot can go in any direction. You're right, it's not linear. I wanted to say it was linear in the beginning because, in post-production, it sounds very linear. It's just he went to the train station, he waited, and then he sees the boy, and then this, and then this, and then this, and now he's dead. So it did seem linear, but in terms of how the plot progressed, you did it. So yeah, you could go in any direction, and that really causes...
Right, but, exactly. And that's the fun for writing for me. If I don't want to write, knowing what I'm going to be writing the page in advance, I like to just go with it. I really like to just go with the flow. And as you said, I started from a location, a derelict train station. There are infinite number of endings. There are an infinite number of story paths I could have taken, but that's the one that I fell upon. And
a train doesn't even really factor into the plot. Like it could have been the last bus or, the last light, like someone turning a light bulb off. It could have been anything, but so it's not even about the trains. So
it all started from the location. It all started from that first kiss, maybe sort of like over 3 decades ago. That's where it all started from. So there you go.
I love it.
But I love the idea of the location. I love, the thickets, what creatures could live in there, all the dark recesses. There's so many possibilities. There really are.
Well, so how do you do that? Because that's what I meant by, like, this is kind of like a skill I find for you especially, that your details are so good. Like, the listener gets lost in the story in a positive way because of how rich your details are. So you're right. It's like in real life, when you wake up, you don't know where you're going to be exactly at for lunchtime and where you're going to be for dinner. Like the day just kind of goes along and you kind of go along with the flow. I get that feeling from your stories too. I cannot guess what next is going to happen. But then I'm not worried about wondering what's going to happen next because I'm wrapped up in the moment that you've created with your details of writing. How do you get so detail-oriented?
Look, I'm trying to get much better at that, and I have improved from 2 years ago when I first started writing. I never paid much attention to detail at all, and that sort of lost, I think, some of the impacts of the story. But it's a fine balance between, trying to be too flamboyant, too fancy, spending too much time on it, and losing that real time aspect of the story. So it's a really fine tightrope to walk. But I am getting better at that. I do want my readers to be lost in the location, but at the same time, I want them to have their mind on the story rather than getting too swept up in sort of intricate details.
Right, and I didn't feel bogged down by your detail. You offer just the right amount of details to set the scene. So then, as a listener, or the reader, we're sitting there in your environment that you've created, and then, just like real life, you don't know when X, Y, and Z is going to happen. If you're walking down the street and you get mugged, you didn't know that you were about to get mugged. It just drops out of nowhere. So you're very effective at setting up that environment that us as the reader or the listener is now in, and then the thing happens. And then you bring in the thing. And then you're good at then you bring in the second thing. Because like I said, I had no idea. I thought he was going to get crushed in the tunnel or it was some kind of claustrophobic. Having cryptids at the end did not even register once as a potential idea.
Well, we had this conversation last time and you actually got me thinking because you said most of my horror is psychological and I rarely use anything sort of too speculative. So I thought, okay, yeah, that's probably like a bit of a prompt to maybe do something along those lines. But I didn't really want to make them too much of a focus either. Yeah, the story is really split into 3 parts: the station and the kid, the tunnel and the cryptids. But I didn't want to focus on any particular one. And I think by doing that as well, it just allowed the story to flow a little bit more freely as well. But yeah, look, it was a fun story to write. Lots going on, and yeah, that's my favorite type of story when I start with a location and just go with it.
Do you find yourself doing that more often? Because knowing you probably wrote another 30 stories since the last time I talked with you. So, do you find yourself doing that more?
Yes, I do. Yeah, when I first started, I was just keen to get words on paper, and I was living by a set of rules, but that wasn't really working for me. So and there is no perfect recipe for writing a good story, I don't think. But look, I'm writing a novella now called Gone with the Dogs, and this started from a pub in England, and it takes the reader on like quite I mean, I'll say bizarre. I mean, that's nothing new, but I mean, this one is really, really batshit crazy. This one is absolutely nuts. So, there is no way if I sat down with a pad and a pen, I could have story plotted this story from start to finish. It just doesn't work like that for me. Some of the points of the story, I won't sort of like go on about it too much because it's not the conversation is about, but it just takes so many twisted, and it's I think you would look at this story and again you would sort of read it with the viewpoint that it is actually quite linear when it comes down to it, but really in reality it's far from it. The process is far from it, and again I think that the reader will benefit from that aspect. So yeah, I do tend to just go with the free flow more often than not. Look, I haven't written a novel yet, so that's going to be a different story altogether. If I ever attempt a novel, I think there's going to be some aspect of story plotting. I think that's going to be essential. I don't think I can wing it, for an entire 300 pages. But for a novella, which is essentially an extended short story, I think I can get away with it. So.
Okay. And what did you say the name of the novella that you're working on? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's called Gone with the Dogs. Gone with the Dogs.
Gone with the Dogs. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's the heroes of the story. Actually, I won't talk about it too much, but yeah, it's a good title. It's very relevant.
And this you said you have not done a novella yet. You've only been doing short stories in this short career you've had, right?
So no, this will be my 6th novella. I haven't written a novel yet, so I haven't attempted, and I'm not brave enough to attempt a novel yet. So I've gone from writing short stories. So I got to 100 short stories, and I thought, right, what's next? I can't just continue writing short stories for the rest of my life. So I've got my first novella coming out in March from D&T Publishing called Nana, which is it's a terrifying story about a very scary old lady who is well past her sell-by date. I think I mentioned this last time, but I'm really excited about that. I've got 3 other novellas beyond that coming out in 21 as well, and I've got a couple of other things in the pipeline as well. So this will be my 6th novella. So I'm still learning, I'm still mastering, the longer story, but I think this one works really effectively. For the same reasons, because it wasn't plotted, because it's all done in sort of real time, really.
So it sounds like that's kind of like your go-to method to write a story, but it works because you're in the novella and the short story realms. Yes, I see how that just could not work for a novel. You for sure would need to plot, because you'd have more than you could still have 3 parts to the novel, but each part is then going to have, subparts, and you've got to plot all that out. Exactly.
Yeah. Like there are subplots in the novella, but the novel is, you have to flesh them out, and So look, that for me at the moment just seems like a migraine in waiting. So I'll just hammer out the short stories and novellas for now. And see what happens with those. I mean, if I get a good traction with the novellas, which I'm hoping to do, because I think there's lots of originality in there, then that I might turn my attention towards a novel and give it a crack. But it's just time. I mean, I just don't know where or how people do it. In terms of working full time and then sitting down after work, after they spend time with the family, and starting on their novel again. And, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how they take themselves out of that flow, that fantastical world, and then, switch it on again. I don't know how they do that.
Put it on pause to go,
Yeah,
so
that is...
In your perfect world, would you just sit by yourself and write your story from beginning to end without any distractions, without ever having to leave that magic, if you could?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
And that's why you write so effectively. I mean, you're revealing your own answers. You're just a really good author. You're a really great author.
I mean, a lot of that isn't by choice though, because I've got a family, and I work long hours, so I have to steal the time, and that's forced. I lose myself because I literally am forced to spend 9 hours sat in front of a laptop writing that story, and there's no way you can be disconnected from something when you spend 9 hours with it. That there are stories I've written, with Nana and the old folks of New Haven Crescent. I was really sad to leave them because I'd spent so much time with these odd characters. And, there's a sort of like a bit of a mourning process when you finish writing something like that. So I can't even imagine that process with a novel when you've been invested with something for a year, 2 years. That must be like quite a sort of, a post-traumatic kind of thing to go through. But yeah, for now, short stories and novellas, yeah.
Like, and especially as like a reader, like I get what you're saying from the reader's perspective, because a problem that I'll have with a lot of books is that I will voraciously read through them, and then as I get to the last few chapters or the last few pages, I start to slow down and I get sad. I'm like, oh shit, this journey is coming to an end now. And it feels like you're literally about to say goodbye to real people in your life.
It does. And it really does.
It's sad. It's like, I don't want to finish this book. I'm pretty sure I've got a few books where I just refused to read those last few pages because I didn't want it to end. The more you like a book, the less you want to get to the end.
So you got a stack of unfinished books just waiting for the last page to be read.
But I was going to say, they're not unfinished. It's just they've all only been read to the second to last page. I'm hanging on to those last pages. I just can't do it.
I totally understand that. I do understand that. Yeah, and for the reader and the writer most. But if you feel like that after writing a story, then you got to bet your bottom dollar that the reader is going to feel that way too, which is a great feeling.
Absolutely.
If you have fun with your writing, the reader's going to have fun with it too. If you get lost, as I mentioned before, in too much intricate detail, it becomes too heavy. Especially these days with lack of attention span and busy lives, people are just going to drop out. And speaking from myself, I've read some authors recently that I used to love as a kid, because I had the time to just relax on my bed with the window open, the summer breeze coming through and read. But nowadays I don't get the chance to do that, and it's. For me, to finish a novel these days is testament to the author, because it's very rare, and that's sad. That's really sad to say. I'll get sort of halfway or a quarter way through, and I've lost interest. Which is why I think novellas are a good place to focus for the time being.
So, since the last time that we talked, I know that you were submitting stories to other places as well. Have you appeared on any other horror podcasts or appeared in any new anthologies since we last spoke?
There's a few coming up for 21. So anthologies, there's quite a few anthologies. But in terms of podcasts, there's a couple on the Creepy podcast. I don't know if you know that one, if you've heard of that one, or...
Did you say Creepy podcast?
Creepy podcast, yeah.
Yeah, with John Grills.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And also Love Letters to Poe, which will be, I think, released in March. And in terms of anthologies, there's a few. There's one with a very dodgy title called Satan Rides Your Daughter, which is quite an interesting one from Hellbound Books Publishing. It's the one I didn't tell didn't tell many people about, actually, just because I was quite embarrassed by the title. But and there's a few of the bits and pieces. There's Discordant Love Beyond Death coming out from... I can't remember the name of the company. There's quite a few books, actually, to be honest with you. I can't always remember them, but they're all good for the collection anyway. Yeah, definitely.
I can't remember all the places that I'm featuring on.
I'll settle for that. It keeps me ticking, though. It keeps me ticking.
Yeah, this is exciting times for the Mark Towse brand, isn't it?
Well, look, I don't know. I'm absolutely useless at that promotion, like, and networking, Brooks, to be honest with you. I think I need to sit down and have a masterclass on it. I love writing the stories and getting them out there, but when it comes to promotion, I'm not the best in the world in terms of, what are the most effective techniques. I mean, like I say, I've got a novella coming out in March. I don't really know, how to go about, marketing that. I've got 3 more after that, but hopefully, I think 21 will create a bit more traction, and we'll see where it takes us from there on, for sure.
Yeah, man, because it's your talent that speaks for itself. So, I mean, sure, we need to market things, but a lot of times I feel like people put more into the marketing. Maybe if their product is not that great, you can still move an okay product if you have
You're
great
absolutely
marketing.
right. Hey, you know what? That's so true. And I think, if you've got a good following, there's a lot of, if I scratch my butt, you scratch, sorry.
Well, right, because your talent is insane. So yeah, you're gonna continue to vibrate towards other talented people, and that's gonna be your marketing. I think you have nothing to worry about.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, there's too much nicety out there. I'd rather have candid feedback on what I write, and listening to The Last Train. It's great story. There's a couple of repeated words that I know that I could take out to further improve it. So I'm constantly learning from that, and I think when you get to the point where you're not picking things up, I think that's complacency. So I'm constantly learning how to improve and how to master my skill set, how to improve my skill set. And I think these novellas will be a really good example of that. But, I'll look back in a couple of years and maybe cringe at those. It's the way it goes, isn't it? So,
Constant evolution. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's constant self-criticism as well, constant self-doubt. But at the end of the day, I'm doing something right, I think. So I'll just keep banging the stories out there. And, yeah, it's I love doing it. That's the major thing.
I for sure agree that you're doing it right. Absolutely.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
I hope
Absolutely. So. You're very modest, but you deserve all the accolades.
Oh, thank you, Brooks. Thank you. That's why I like coming on this show.
Whenever you need a good pep talk, just come on our show.
That's right.
When you start to announce the next set of novellas and stuff, where can people find you on social media, just to kind of see?
Yeah, they'll be coming up very soon. They'll probably get fed up with them after a while. But so on Instagram, I'm there as Towse Writes, and on Twitter, Mark Towse 12, and you can join me on Facebook as well. Just look for the big guy. Well, not the big guy, the guy with the big nose, shall I say, just sitting on a patch of grass. So I'll be there waiting for them as well. So yeah, there's
are those Converse shoes that you're wearing in that picture?
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
There you go. I know exactly what photo you're talking about.
It's the one with the lights at a really weird angle. It looks like the sun's literally shining out of my ass, but I can show you it doesn't. Yeah.
But it's an awesome picture. That's a great promotional photo.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, thanks for joining us tonight and showing us that we're better off waiting on the platform. I appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat, Mark, and I thank you for sharing your world with us here in the Grey Rooms.
No, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. I look forward to the next couple as well.
I look forward to your stories, man. I mean, God, you are a powerhouse of a writer. So just everything you're doing, keep doing it.
I'll keep doing it. I will. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I got to find the time. I've got to, just keep that family balance, keep the wife happy as well, which is an interesting challenge, but we'll figure it out.
Happy life.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. And as usual, the biggest thank you goes out to our fans and followers who listen daily and spread the good word of Bob. Stranger danger is real, folks. Don't go chasing kid toys down any tunnels now. #stay gray. Take care and enjoy your evening, Mark.
Thanks, Brooks. Great finishing line. Appreciate it.
And good night, folks. Bye.
Join us each week after every episode for another edition of Behind the Door.